Okay,
And
there
you've
we
got
go.
it turned. Okay, you've got it set up where I can share.
Yes, I did that earlier. Let me double check that I did indeed. Yes, you are able.
Okay, let me start mine playing so that it's ready.
All right, and then I will, I'm gonna go ahead and for the recording, we'll start it out. Our speaker is Chris Paulis. His program is all about the educational associate degree. Chris's photography-related passions include photograph restoration, wildlife, landscape, product, and commercial photography. As a career teacher, educator, Chris offers workshops on becoming profitable in product photography and methods of photographic restoration. Chris is a master of photography, a master artist, and a photographic craftsman. He has won numerous awards in photographic competitions at all levels. In IPC, he has been a GIA finalist multiple times and in 2021 received the GIA for photographic restoration. He received the ASP Educational Associate degree January 2023. His paper was based on a year-long qualitative research project involving experienced restoration artists, PPA and PPA-approved jurors, defining priorities and criteria to evaluate restorations according to the 12 elements of a merit image. He's also a grandfather of 10 and living proof that one can begin and thrive in a new career after retirement, having begun his journey as a professional photographer after finishing a career in public education where he taught students and teachers. So I'm going to let you take it away there, Chris.
Okay, so I can add another factoid to that intro. 10 grandchildren and about to be one great grandchild. That is mind-boggling, but exciting. Okay, so let's see. Let me get to the share screen part.
Okay, and so Jonathan's going to be speaking. Will there be anybody else speaking?
No.
No? Okay, then I'm going to mute everybody else.
All right, are you seeing my opening slide?
Yes.
Because I have it where I can't really see it. I'm looking at my own stuff. Okay, whoops, we'll jump to the front. Okay, so as published, as publicized, this is all about the ASP Educational Associate degree. And joining me today will be John Adams, who is our most recent recipient of the degree and did a marvelous job. We'll get to him in a couple of minutes, and I think you'll enjoy what he's got to say. All right, so just an overview of what we'll do here. First, what is the degree? If you're wondering about that, have questions about just what it is, then we'll focus on why pursue it. After that, eligibility requirements, that is, who can apply. Then submission requirements, what it takes to get in the door with the judging process. And then the judging process, I'm going to say a little bit about how that runs, how it works, and then how papers will be evaluated is something that is rather new now that we added last year, and we'll share that with you. That's part of, one of our goals was a year ago to make this process a bit more transparent so that even the applicants know the criteria in particular that their work is going to be judged on. And I'll leave that to others to say. And then we'll end with a Q&A session. So if there are questions, feel free to ask them. All right, so let's move into that first one. What is the Educational Associate degree? The EA degree is an advanced degree designed for those individuals who dedicate themselves to teaching and sharing their skills with others. That's the party line. I will say that it's much more than that too, and I think you'll hear that from John Adams when he he speaks. And Bob Coates can attest to it as well. It's a great way to bring what you've learned, what you've experienced as a teacher and an artist, bring it into your own thinking and to build on that. And I haven't talked to a single recipient of this that didn't say they grew through the writing, that it did them a lot of good. And that's the case for me too. Okay, so why pursue the educational associate degree? I'm going to ask John Adams at this point to jump in there and talk a little bit about his answer to that question.
Sure. So, first off, thanks for having me tonight. I think this is really great and special to be able to present this stuff. A little bit of background. I'm a teacher. I teach innovation, and I'll tell you a little bit about kind of what I was able to get through this. But innovation is basically having kids design through any type of medium. And basically the reason why I wanted to do this was just to dive a little bit deeper into kind of the importance of education and what it does to our youth. So as a lifelong learner myself and a lifelong teacher, I thought it was really important to have some data that backs up, or was able to have some data to back up some of the things that we always talk about, like whenever we're teaching workshops to other photographers. You know, we think we're doing what needs to happen. We think we're teaching the best of the best when it comes to the trade and such. But what's the data that supports that? So part of this was going through that data and seeing why we do what we do, and kind of creating a story, or creating a reason for it. I mean, it's one thing just showing up to a job and just photographing, but what kind of impact does it have when you go through life and you try to teach other people what you know. So that's kind of the reason. It was just a dive deep into what I already love to do, and then have some data that supports that, so then I could take that and try to ask for other things. For instance, I took the paper that I wrote and I brought it to our school board, and
Wow.
I was able to use that for some grant money. So now I was able to receive over $10,000 in grant money. So now we're creating an actual photography studio in the Innovation Center. And I was able to get, a dozen cameras. We have studio lighting that's going to be draped from the ceiling. I have background paper. And it was all because, me starting this process of writing this paper and trying to dive deep into why, we do what we do. Just to give you guys a quick thing about the topic, was the importance of photography in our education in secondary school. So I was able to show the data to the school board, say, hey, even though we're under budget constraints, this is why it's important to keep going with this. And I was able to get some money with it and such. So now what we're doing is I was able to get another grant to buy a 44-inch printer. So now kids can do the photography class, do the digital design class, teach Photoshop, and take Photoshop classes, and then display their work across the school. And that all sparked from when I went to one of these, when Chris, I think you presented last year and such, and I was there. So that's where all this happened. So lots of things
cool.
that can happen because of it.
Yeah. And one point that John makes here is that the EA definitely can be much more than just a personal project, where you look into something that you want to know more about, you write about it, and then that's it. Both John and I hoped our project would make a difference in the world. His in public education and in his district, and mine in the judging of restorations.
If going on the ASP's website and looking at everybody's topic that they wrote about, I mean, I think every single topic there makes an impact from some sort of niche group or whatnot. Like,
Mhm.
you know, as I was reading some of the papers this past weekend, I mean, there's so much information there. There's so much great information that, you know, I wish there was more of it, right? And I think that's where the EA is really good, is trying to develop some of that
Mhm.
first person research and trying to, you know, just make this craft a little bit better.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks, Jonathan. Any other
Oh.
last words before we let you go to your next Zoom meeting?
Yeah, basically, you know, if you're on the fence of doing it, you just do it. Like, you won't regret it at all. It's been
Mhm.
such a wonderful experience and humbling experience. And it's not about, you know, hey, I'm competing against somebody else. It's really just about self-growth. And
Yeah.
if you're that type of person that just wants to keep developing as a human being, then, you know, do it.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
You feel free to pop off. So yeah, this isn't about competition at all. All you are competing against is yourself and rising to the challenge of the evaluative criteria of this degree. And so let's explore a little bit more of what that's all about. Before we go too much farther, though, what I want you to know is that there are a number of forms and resources available on the ASP website, and I've got the URL there at the bottom. If you just remember, go to the awards section, click on that, and then under it, click on Educational Associate. That'll get you there if you don't want to memorize or copy this this URL down. So what you'll see there, and this is rather new too, we didn't have all of these resources up last year, but you'll notice that there it says Chicago MLA and MLA format. I don't know that it's Chicago MLA, but it's the Chicago standards. The two possibilities for the formatting of your paper. Then we'll give you a look at the Educational Associate Guide. It's basically a brochure, but that's downloadable at that link. The Educational Associate application is there that you can download and email me once you've paid your fee to Mel Carl through the store, the ASP store. And then the last thing, and it's the last thing we'll go over today, is the Educational Associate Judging Form. I did not share that last year because we were still developing it, but this year I think it's a good thing to have it out there too. So there's no guesswork in how work is going to be evaluated by the judges. Okay, and then you see at the very bottom there, Educational Associate Papers. Click here, and below that on that screen is a reverse chronological list of who has received the Educational Associate and where we have their papers. Those papers are there beside their names, so you can open them up, have a look, see what you think. You'll notice that there's a great diversity in the kinds of things that people approached in their project. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about who can apply for one. To apply, these things: be an ASP professional active life or honorary life member, hold the PPA photographic craftsman degree, be a member in good standing of ASP and PPA, have acquired at least 30 additional speaking, teaching, or writing merits beyond the craftsman while maintaining the ASP membership. So important to know, the speaker merits you earn beyond the craftsman have to be earned while you are an ASP member. So important to sort of maintain your membership, accumulate your additional 30 speaking merits, and then you're good to go. And then one must have completed at least 3 consecutive years of ASP and PPA membership prior to applying for the educational associate degree. So, I mean, those last 2 bullets go hand in hand. You don't necessarily, if you took a year off or something, but you had 3 years in which you gathered all the merits, you then have to have 3 years of membership before you can apply, right before you apply. So it's always best to just maintain your membership and apply when you've had at least 3 years and you've reached the merit count that's needed. Okay, submission requirements. That is, once you get to the point where you're applying. So what's involved in earning the educational associate is you have to write a thesis, which must be a product of individual research and thought. Okay, an important point to make, it doesn't have to be what we call secondary research, where you're reading a bunch of articles and books and sources that you're then going to draw information from in further or advancing your thesis. It could be qualitative research, the collection of data through qualitative research. If you have questions about that, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to clarify the difference and explain it, because mine was a qualitative study. Must demonstrate the applicant's mastery of the field while supporting a position for a new idea, development, or trend. There's that make a difference in the world perspective. This you really want, and it's for your own good too, that this be good for more than just a degree, that it help the community. Concepts must be corroborated by outside research, and there's that primary or secondary or both. In my case, mine was essentially primary research, but I also drew in information outside of the photographic industry and inside that linked to the points that I was making from the research. So it can be one, the other, or both. It should be 3,500 to 10,000 words, not counting bibliography and illustrations. That can be a little tricky, but it's not hard and fast. I don't think that anybody's gonna do a word count, and if you're at 10,001, you're gonna be kicked out. No, this is a guideline. Stay within the guideline as much as you can. And one thing I'll tell you as a former writing researcher, the more I revise to shorten something, the stronger that piece gets. One of the best driving forces for improving a piece is revising it down and getting perspectives. When I was working on mine, Bob gave me some input that was very helpful, feedback, as did Chris Woolley. The two of them, I had them read, and they were both more than kind to read and give me honest opinions about how I wrote it and what I was saying. And they were indispensable. Must be submitted as a Microsoft Word document with the author identified only on the cover page. That's really important because we will send these, I will send these out without that cover sheet. I'll know whose it is, but we don't want the submitters of the applicant's name anywhere within the paper. So real important point. I don't want to have to go through and do a search and replace, or a search and remove. That would not make me happy as the chair. Nor would it make a judge happy to see your name in there, because that's a big no-no. Topics are unlimited, but should relate in some manner to photography. However loosely that might be, there's a connection and you need to make it. Okay, so here are the submission requirements. Submit to the EA chair an application by July 1. We probably should have application there. So by July 1, you have completed application, the 125 fee, and that's through the ASP store and Melcar. Digital headshot, 5x7 at 300 PPI, and a brief biography, a page or less. Okay, it's not intended to tell your whole life story. It's just enough that it can be put on promo pieces. It can be used to introduce you at different times. It should be brief. And then this is really important, the PPA merit report in PDF format. It's easy to get that. You just go to your My PPA section. You go to where you can see your merit report and you export that as a PDF. I think that's how that works. But pretty simple to do. If you run into a problem, again, reach out, ask, and I'll see what I can do to help. Whoop, I just clicked on the wrong thing. Come back here. There it is, okay. All right, then by August 15th, so we've got 2 dates here that are important. July 1 is your deadline to get in everything that needs to be there for you to be an applicant. Then August 15th, the completed thesis with cover page is due. Okay, so hopefully, if you're interested, you start working on this early. I actually took a year to write mine, or to do all of my research and write mine. So if this isn't your year, maybe next year will be, depending on the scope of your project. You can judge how long it's going to take you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the judging process. First, the degree chair, that's me at this point, selects a panel of 5 judges. 4 of those hold the EA degree. And a 5th one is a writing expert who doesn't necessarily have the degree, is mainly a writing expert. They may not even be a photographer, but they know writing. And they're going to look at it from that perspective, especially in terms of the style manual that you are following with your paper. And so that's something that they will take a really close look at. Judges must be approved by the ASP president prior to jurying. So what'll happen is I'll find 5 willing judges and I'll submit those names to John Harrell, and John will mull it over and let me know if he approves. If he does, then I contact those people and we move on. So judges will use an evaluation rubric to score the submitted papers, and you're going to see that in a minute. And you'll be able to download it as well, so you can look at it even more carefully. Might be hard to read it on my screen that I put up. To earn the degree, at least 3 jurors must score the paper 85 or higher out of 100 points. And you'll see where that comes from on the rubric. The writing expert must score the paper at least an 80. Okay. Judges will not know the authors, whose names will be redacted from the papers. And judges' names will not be divulged at any time as well. So important that you know there's that confidentiality in both directions. Okay, so let's talk a bit, dip into how the thesis will be judged. It's broken into 2 large categories. First is content, basically. 80 possible points for concept, the idea presented and how successfully it is expressed, developed, and corroborated by research. Okay, 80 points. That's a lot of points. So you pile them up there, the other 20 aren't going to be too hard to get, or actually the other 5 won't be too hard to get, because you have to get to 85. If you get 80 and you get 5 on the next section, so it's 10 possible points for style as defined by the Modern Language Association, MLA, or the Chicago Manual of Style. Those guides are available digitally online. You don't have to buy a book. So it's best to go there because that's where the standards are most current and clear. You can find examples of them and so on. That'd be very helpful. So style pertains primarily to the formatting of notes and bibliography. And the heart of both of the style sheets is clarity, that it's easy to see, here's where I get that, here's where I go to see that information that you have referred to or quoted. And then finally, 10 possible points for grammar, usage, and mechanics. So if you feel like your grammar, your spelling, your use of commas is not what it should be, if everything else is well done, that shouldn't be a problem. The important thing to know about this last category is the make or break point is, do those errors interfere with understanding? Do they make you stop and wonder what's being said? If that's the case, you'll get a low score on that category. Okay, and again, reach out to me if there's more you want to know about that. Next, let's take a look at the rubric, and I'm not going to have you read it, but I want you to see the way in which this is structured. So here's the content section. Do you see my no, you don't, because I'm not on the Zoom screen. Anyway, you can see.
If you were asking, I'm sorry, Chris, if we could see the cursor, yes, we can.
Oh, you could see
We
me
can.
circling content.
I can.
Okay, good. So all of these are the breakdown of the content or concept. So, and notice they're weighted. Overall appeal is huge. It's sort of like impact in photography. If your writing makes an impact on the reader, you will probably get a very high score here. Now, how do we know what a high score should be? There's where this is called an analytical scoring guide. So judges are asked to decide which of these statements in the line best describes the paper. And then they decide within the category which number of points they're going to give it. Okay, and if you have questions about that at the very end, we'll talk about it. I can come back to this screen if we have to, but notice 15 points for that. Introduction and thesis, 10. Quality of information and evidence, 10. Organization and development of the thesis, 10. Support of the thesis and analysis, 10. Conclusion, 10. And then overall communication, that is, is the writing easy to read? Does it communicate well? That's not about grammar, that's about the nature of the writing. Okay, so that's content, and that adds up to 80 points. The reason I have a gold line down the middle here is that if you were to average in this good category, especially if you average in the top point possibility within the category, you will pass. Okay, so this has been created with where the cut line should be in passing or failing the application. Okay, so here are the last two components of the rubric. The style section, okay, and you can see 5 points for citation format, 5 points for works cited. So that's the bibliography at the end. The citation is what you do within the text that drives people to the bibliography where they can go read behind what you've written. And again, very, very simple. And notice only 5 points for each of those. It's not huge. And frankly, it's not, these aren't old school marms with rulers that'll bang your hands if you get something that isn't quite perfect in here. That's not our goal. And then finally, 10 points for grammar usage mechanics, as it's commonly known. I call it GUM, but it's, as you can see here, grammatical, spelling, punctuation, and other errors are rare and do not detract from the paper is a good. Down here, you see the difference. Interfere with reading the paper. That would fall into that lower section. Okay, so again, if you've got questions, I'll answer some at the end, and hopefully you can put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to address them. But also, I'm happy to answer questions either by phone or email or messaging on Facebook. So after judging, what happens then? Successful candidates receive their degrees at the next ASP Awards presentation, which is the gala. Applicants will be notified of their results once judging is complete. And successful applicants may not use EAASP or the degree string in their degree string until they receive their EA medal at the ASP award ceremony. However, we will at some point after letting you know, release you to be able to share that you were successful in pursuit of the degree. And so that's awfully hard to have to wait 4 months or so to be able to tell people your good news. Okay, questions and answers, Q&A. Are there questions that people have? I'm going to leave this up because if we need to go back to any slides, that'd be easy to do.
Yeah, Chris, this is John Powers.
Hi, John.
Hi, I got on a little late, so I might have missed it. But on the rubric you shared, when people put in their submission to enter to try for the EA, do you send that rubric to them so they can use it to construct their paper?
Okay, what you did miss is it's downloadable from the EA page on ASP.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, that rubric is sort of the product of my long public education career. My emphasis was in the evaluation of writing. And I wrote a number of articles on that in the 80s and have a sort of passion for that kind of thinking of how do we describe quality? And so that's sort of the product of that. And it's also built after consultation with a number of existing current rubrics that are out there in the world. Any other questions?
We don't have any in the chat. I think you explained stuff so
Okay.
incredibly
Yeah,
well.
remember to unmute yourself if you are asking something.
Okay. With the question with the rubric, I know probably one of the most important things you can do is probably to read past articles. Is the rubric that was used, can we see what how they fit with the paper?
No, those are the the exclusive purview of the applicants and me and the individual judge who wrote each one.
Okay.
They don't even see each other's. But yeah, that's an important thing for us not to, I mean, if somebody doesn't make it, they I mean, maybe it's possible if I were to ask John, but it's sort of the can of worms I don't want to open, because I'm not sure that is as professional as we need to be. But I think the criteria spelled out in the rubric should be enough, along with trusted others, and especially people who are writers, for you to be able to get a handle on whether you'll be successful or not while you're writing.
Thank you.
Sure. Got a couple of you there who were hiding behind your profile image. You have any questions? I see Karen Butts is sort of in the room. Karen's an old friend.
What did you say, Chris? I'm sorry.
I said, did you have any questions, Karen? Now
Oh, I came to the ball game late, so I missed the first part of it.
Well, the nice thing is this has been recorded.
Yes.
And so you get a chance to go look, but also Eileen reminded me that this is actually going to go on the public facing ASP YouTube channel. So this will be available for anyone who's interested in this process.
nice. I like it. Anything else you want to ask about?
So I will ask, how long does it typically, I've heard one person say it took them 3 months, but everybody else says it took at least a year to put the paper together. And how often are people successful on the first try? How many tries does it normally take?
Well, you know, my experience with this side of it is only 2 years old. Last year was my first year as chair. Before that, I was an applicant that prior year. And so really had no knowledge of that. And from what I've seen, the chairmanship changes and that kind of information doesn't get passed on. So I don't really know what the pass rate tends to be. I will say that last year, 1 out of 3 made it. And I also don't know how long people took to work on theirs. It literally took me a full year because I had to set up research, collection of data in multiple ways, involving people and surveys, and then I had to make sense out of all of that. What was I finding as a result of the research? And then I could start writing. So I needed the year.
Well, I'm inspired. I am intending to pursue mine. And
what you could do is reach out to others who have earned the EA degree and tell them how long they took.
okay, that's not a bad idea. And actually also to ask what they might suggest that help them in their process.
Yeah.
It seems like we have a lot of people who are very willing to help in the process, that they would like people to succeed. And
for sure.
I love the encouragement of that in this group.
Definitely, me too. All right, well, sounds like maybe we are ready to end, huh?
I think we're good. I think this is going to be great information for anybody who is not able to make it tonight. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all this with us. I appreciate
You're welcome. I hope we get a flood of papers in this year.
That would be great. Okay, well,
All right,
I will.
You're welcome, Paul.
Bye-bye.
I saw that chat pop up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good night, everybody.
Good night.